You want to stand out. You want to be great. You are significant. Welcome back to Candid Conversations with Charisa. I know it's been a minute, but we are back, and this season 6 is about to be lit. It's about to be hot, and it's about to be all about you. Why? I'm interested in watching the legacy that you want to build and that you want to leave, because you want to be transformed and you want to transform lives. So this season is going to be all about you, your self-development, your self-growth, and your self-leadership. Why? Because you get to change the world. You get to fulfill a purpose. And guess what? Here at Candid Conversations, I get to help you leave a mark in this world. What a relevant question. I actually don't think that the topic of bitterness gets talked about enough. Why? Because so many of us, so many of you, at the sound of my voice, we deal with bitterness and we mistake it for anger. We mistake it for resentment. Bitterness is something totally different. And so today, I wanted to answer the question, how do I get free from bitterness? Because there are two things in there that I want you to experience. I want you to get rid of, and I want you to be free. And so as I answer this audience question, how do I get free from bitterness? Let's first understand bitterness. And I only have about 25 to 30 minutes with you, so I know I can't talk enough. But let's focus on what bitterness is, and then let's also talk about anger, because sometimes the two are interchangeable and they can look the same, but they're different. So you may ask, well, what is bitterness? And is it anger? It's anger that I feel, or is it bitterness? Sometimes when you feel angry, there's sort of this misuse or this lacking of love, of support, and of having your desires met. And so when you're angry, there's a behavior that's exhibited from the anger emotion that you feel. So you respond from the emotion. Bitterness is anger matured. I heard it as I was doing some research. I saw someone say that bitterness is anger in a matured manner. And so imagine you being bitter, but not being able to do something about that feeling. Bitterness leads to helplessness. Anger doesn't actually make you helpless. Anger is actually sometimes what drives you to move forward. It is what drives you to be able to do something and react and respond. Bitterness is when you feel like you can't respond. Bitterness is when you feel like you can act, you feel helpless. And so because you feel helpless, then there's a mixture of emotions like sadness, like depression, like anxiety, like hurt. Imagine all of those emotions into one, and you're harboring them and you're bitter. So usually if you're a bitter person, that means people around you are feeling that. They're seeing that. They're hearing that. They're being fed by you with all of this bitterness. And usually you're not a very good person to be around. When you're bitter, there's so much negativity, there's so much dryness, there's so much pessimism. And so when someone says, how do I get free of bitterness? The first thing I want to do is be sure that I answer the question, because I would hate for you to not be experiencing the peace and the love and the joy that the Bible talks about. In one of the greatest books out in the world that I love to read, Hebrews 12 verse 15 in the Bible says, if you have a bitter root, it affects others whether you see it or not. By removing that bitter root, you preserve peace and faith among your relatives, among your friends, among co-workers, and among others. So why not do what it takes to remove the root of that bitterness so that you can have a life free and filled with patience, filled with peace, filled with love, filled with joy, and filled with faith. And so I want to talk to you about how do I get free of bitterness? And even when you consider why, the why is because you want to experience complete freedom. You want to experience complete joy. You want to be able to experience complete peace. Do you know what a peace of mind is? You cannot put a price tag with value enough on a peace of mind. And if you can do what it takes to get the peace of mind that you desire, to live the life that you want, then that is your responsibility. Why not allow yourself to do whatever it takes and put in the work and dive deep if you have to, so that you can have all of this joy and all of this peace. So let's talk about some practical ways that you can release the root of bitterness. One, and it's actually in what I just said in that statement. One, let's become aware of the root of why you are bitter. Yes, it's going to require you just acknowledging the emotion. Acknowledge that you are bitter. Yes, you may be angry, but I acknowledge that maybe your anger has now become bitter. It has matured to a place of helplessness. It has matured to a place of what you may call resentment, and it is starting to take up root. Let's just acknowledge it, and then let's call it what it is. Yes, let's give it a name. And I say let's give it a name because if you name something, then you can hold it. If you can hold it, you can do something about it. Sometimes we don't like to put name and label on something because that requires us to do something about it. All I want us to do is acknowledge. Let's acknowledge what the root of your bitterness is. Let's acknowledge and recognize that this emotion actually exists. Number two, let's recognize that this emotion is hindering my growth. Let's recognize that this emotion of bitterness is hindering the great and positive development of my relationships. So once you have acknowledged the fact that this emotion exists in your life and that this very thing has taken a root, then let's recognize what it's doing. And it's not benefiting your growth. It's not benefiting your forward movement. It's not benefiting your purpose. Imagine there's something in your life that's hindering you from fulfilling the purpose that you were born to do. And then you're sitting wondering, man, why am I not growing? Why am I not up leveling? Why am I not thriving? Well, if you took a step back, you're going to realize that part of it is I've just been so angry. There's nothing else that I can do. And now you're at a place of bitterness. Therefore, you are truly bleeding on those around you. So recognize that this bitterness is not doing you any good. Thirdly, then let's make a decision. How do I forgive? When you decide to forgive, if you want to reach the highest level of freedom in your life, talk about reaching to the point where you have full love, because what cannot exist at the same time as unforgiveness is love. They cannot live on the same street. They cannot exist in the same world. Actually, my coach put it best. They're like oil and water. Love and unforgiveness will never go together. And so if you want to experience full love and you want to experience full peace and full joy and have all of this faith in who you are, then you want to make a decision, not just forgive. No, you want to make a decision to forgive not only those that may have offended you, but you also want to forgive yourself. Sometimes we don't want to forgive ourselves. Why? Because it requires us to do number one and number two. You can only forgive what you can hold. You can only forgive what you can see. You can only forgive what you have acknowledged and have recognized. Sometimes we don't like to do what it takes to forgive and recognize because we feel ashamed. And shame is a judgment that we sometimes put on ourselves because of the hurt and the despair that it may feel on the other side. Not recognizing that when you give or when you lend a hand to forgiving yourself and allowing yourself to set free of what it is that's not benefiting you, the freedom that you feel, the freedom that you can obtain on the other side of that is so much more valuable and so much more greater. Once you have forgiven yourself, you have created a little room that was never there before to now forgive the individual or those persons that may have hurt you and caused you pain and offended you in some way. Again, you can't love someone and say, I love you, and all the same time feel unforgiveness in your heart for them. And sometimes forgiveness, actually all the time, forgiveness has nothing to do with the other person. It has everything to do with you. And it has everything to do with your relationship with you and your higher power. And for me, that's God. So there's a reason why I go the not so easy route of forgiving people that may have hurt me, because my relationship with my God is so much more important than what they did to me. And I know that the relationship that I have here with anyone can't be greater than the relationship I have with God. So if that is supreme and superior, then I know that my relationships down here have so much more to look up to. So you want to be able to make a decision to say, you know what? I don't like this bitter feeling. I don't like the stress and the depression that I'm feeling. I don't like the inability to be able to truly fulfill my purpose. I don't like that I feel constipated and stuck. I don't like this feeling of feeling hatred and clogged up. And so then now you get to say, I'm going to decide to, first of all, forgive myself and show myself some love for even allowing myself to go through years and years and years of this feeling. And then I'm going to make a decision to forgive anyone who may have caused hurt, anyone who may have caused me pain, anyone who I may have allowed to offend me. And then I release them. And you would be very surprised how instantly, if you started today, how instantly you experience freedom and you experience a little peace and peace of mind. So fourth, then you want to release control. So after you have acknowledged the emotion, you've recognized the fact that it's not benefiting you, and you have made a decision to forgive others and yourself. Then number four, you want to release control. And you want to release control of what you know you have no control over. You know, that sounds confusing, but sometimes we think that we can't do anything because we're trying to do something on something we have no control over. You can't control how someone may have hurt you. You can't control what you may have gone through in life that was caused involuntarily. But you get to control how you react and how you respond. You hear that all the time. So I must say it again because it's so true. So sometimes when you're trying to control the way someone responds to you, when you're trying to control the way someone makes you feel, and you're trying to control a particular event, that is going to cause more bitterness, because remember, bitterness is when you recognize that you can't do anything about something. Therefore, it renders you helpless. So why put yourself willingly in a decision or in a predicament that has you rendered helpless, when there's so much more that you can actually be doing for yourself and for others if you just release control that you don't have and embrace the control that you do have. You have control of your life. You have control of your reaction. You have control of your responses. You have control of everything you. And you have no control of everything anyone else. So release that control and take a hold of who you are. Embrace your imperfections. Embrace your love. Embrace who you are. Embrace why you are the way you are. Embrace your beauty. Embrace your value. Embrace your worth. No one else is going to do that more than you. Take the time to embrace that, and don't waste time trying to control what you can. So release control. And lastly, evict the victim mentality. Victimizing yourself because of something someone did to you, again, renders you helpless. It actually allows them to have more power over you and how you react and how you feel based on what they did. Again, take back that power. You have the power to be great. You have the power to stand on your own 2 feet. You have the power to say, no matter what you did, it's not going to affect my peace. No matter what you did, it's not going to affect my faith. No matter how you made me feel, it's not going to affect my love for you and for me. That's how you have to take back the power, and you have to respond to what someone may do versus saying, I am a victim and I was hurt. Look at me. Why not me? No. If anything, say, look at me. In spite of what you have done, look at how I stand. In spite of what you've done, look at how tall I am. In spite of what you've done, look at me and the peace of mind that I have. I want you to have peace of mind. I stand here and I talk and I share with you. I even share my heart. Sometimes I get a little passionate because I want to see each and every one of you experiencing the peace that God has given you, experiencing the love that God has for you, experiencing the joy that we are all supposed to have when we go to bed, we wake up in the morning. But these are decisions that we make every day. So decide that you're going to no longer hold on to and embrace bitterness. Decide that you're no longer going to be an angry person. And one thing I understand about anger, and I want to speak to those, and I want to come close a little bit, because one of the things that I understand about anger is that anger is usually started as hurt. Maybe sometime in your life, somebody hurt you. You had a certain expectation, you had a desire that wasn't met, you had all of this love, and they violated you and they hurt you, and you felt hurt and you felt pain. So what was now tears of water are now tears of blood because you're angry. What used to be just a soft whisper you wish that someone heard at night, now is just a loud cry and a scream of nonchalance because you're angry. Let's go back down. Let's pass the hurt. Let's go down to what it is that you desired, what it is that you used to love. And let's find other people. Let's find other support. Let's find within ourselves, how can I meet this expectation of myself? Or how can I meet this desire? Or is the desire that I have and I wish to be fulfilled, is it reasonable? Or where can I find it met? Sometimes we get mad and we get angry and we get hurt by people who we are expecting to fulfill an expectation or to fulfill a desire, and they can't. They just don't have the capacity to. So then we get mad because we have put too much of a capacity fulfillment on them, and they just can't live up to it. Versus stepping back, we step back a little bit and understand that maybe I'm asking you for too much. Thank you for all that you can give me. Let me go over here to someone who actually has the capacity to fulfill my desire and fulfill my expectations. So you see how we've just gone from feeling bitterness because of what everyone else did, and I brought it all the way down to you. Because sometimes, and usually all the time, the answer and the clear resolution to your problems are on the inside. And then there are times when you need help. There are times when you are gonna be talked to by people like me, or others who have gone through some of these things, or they have worked with people who have experienced these things over time, and they're able to help you. And so there were times, even in my life, when I was angry at people for a long time. And before it got to bitterness, I was recognizing that that anger was becoming very loose. And my anger for that person was becoming very careless. And I really was getting to the point where I was starting to feel depressed and sad. And I recognized that I can't allow that to take up space and rent in my life if I'm trying to get from this level to this level. What do I do? How do I do it? How do I avoid, let me nip it in the bud now? And I was able to put into effect these very things I mentioned to you, acknowledging the fact that it exists, recognizing that it's not beneficial, deciding to forgive them and myself, evicting the victim mentality, and releasing control. I decided to do all of that. And I was able to backtrack and not get into that bitterness. So I hope that I was able to help you understand how to free yourself and how to become free of bitterness. I hope I was able to encourage you to take just the first step. Do you have to do all of these steps at one time? No, just start with the first step. Acknowledge that what you're feeling is actually bitterness, and just recognize that it's no longer benefiting you. And I hope today that as you practice, so as you take into account what's so much more important and so much more valuable in your life, you will do the work, the deep, the not so good feeling work, so that on the other side, you get to go to the top and you get to experience and feel a success and joy and patience and love and a peace of mind. If this was good for you, if this was so valuable to you, if you enjoyed this, please, I want to hear your comments. Tell me your stories. I love reading them. I love knowing that what I'm saying is helping someone. I love knowing that the work that I put out there for you is helping you. Let me know as we all try to obtain and gather the love and the joy and the peace that we all deserve. See you next episode. Are you ready? After just listening to that, are you ready? I know you're ready. So if you want to now get up and go and start acting and putting forth what it is that you want the world to know and that you want to serve, now is the time and you are well equipped. Make sure you like, make sure you share, and make sure you comment below. I enjoy reading your comments. Go ahead and make your mark in the world because you are great.